Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Jennifer Huber, also known as Solo Travel Girl, with my very obnoxious microphone. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. And before I get into my Mounjaro update, it's been a while. I just want to remind you that I'm not a healthcare professional and I'm just sharing my personal experience and opinion about using Mounjaro to manage my type 2 diabetes. Since June of 2022, I've been using Mounjaro to manage my type 2 diabetes. And this medication, along with the work that I put into it, has really been amazing. It's really improved my health, helped me reach my health goals. I have lost about 50 pounds since being on Mounjaro. I have lowered my A1C. I have lowered my blood pressure. I used to be on high blood pressure medication. I'm no longer on that medication. I used to have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I no longer have that. I had higher cholesterol. I have normal cholesterol now, but I am still on a low dose statin. So Mounjaro really has been amazing in my life. Well, something I want to talk to you about. It has something about my two worlds colliding, my travel world and my Mounjaro world. I know many of you don't want to hear about my travels or travel content creation. I'm a travel blogger. Although I know the kids don't call it travel blogging anymore, it's content creating. However, this is where Mounjaro and the travel industry world meets because I am friends with a local food reporter. We're Facebook friends, and I know her in real life as well, but she posted that she was working on an article about the impact of GLP-1s on restaurants. Apparently, there was a national news story stating that restaurants were seeing a trend and an impact from GLP-1s and the like. So we had a nice conversation, and based on that conversation, I thought that I would talk to you all and get feedback from you to see if Mounjaro, or maybe you're on Zepbound or Ozempic or one of the other medications, to see if that's impacting how you are dining out. And also, it's going to tie into an event that I attended, and I'm going to give you a restaurant review while being on Mounjaro. Anyway, um, so how has being on Mounjaro changed my life, especially when it comes to dining out and eating? I know I posted a video before about how my relationship with food changed, but this is how my relationship and how the practice of dining out has changed on Mounjaro. First off, when friends and family, when we'd go out to eat, they're like, well, is this food on your diet? Can you eat this? Is this okay? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's not necessarily that I'm a diet. Everything is okay in moderation, but I'm just going to be more selective as to what I eat. And the longer I have been on Mounjaro, I have learned what is okay to eat. And what I mean okay, it's basically what my body can tolerate. And I quickly learned that I really need to limit my carb intake, not necessarily eliminate carbohydrates, but just limit it. I had some very, very, very bad experiences when I ate too many pretzels, when I'd eaten too much bread. So I do limit whether I'm going to eat that hunk of bread that's served at the beginning of dinner. And a lot of that is dependent as to what day of the week it is in relation to my injection. The day after my injection and about the 2 days after my injection, I am really going to avoid carbohydrates. I'm also going to avoid fried foods, deep fried foods in that time frame as well. I noticed that because I had a bad experience, that really deep fried foods, that oil does not sit well with me. It causes heartburn, nauseousness, bloating, and in other instances, I am seeing that food come up another time. So in addition to avoiding carbohydrates, I stick I stay away from deep fried foods the closer to my injection day. Am I totally giving up deep fried foods? No. in a while, I will still have it, but it's usually closer to my injection day, leading up to my injection day, if that all makes sense. And that's because right after my injection day, the day after, that's when I am the least hungriest. That's when my appetite is the lowest. And then as the week goes on, my appetite grows a little bit more, and I feel as though my stomach has the capacity. Maybe that's all like a mind game or something, so to say. What else? I prefer to stay away from restaurants that are heavy carb. Like, I'm sorry, Italian restaurants. I just think of the pasta and the breads, the delicious breads, and that I just can't tolerate that. But if I must go to an Italian restaurant, there's usually something on the menu that will be appealing to me and will make me feel good about eating. But I do look for restaurants and I look for entree items that are pretty simple in their ingredient makeup, that they have a nice portion of protein, they have a healthy amount of vegetables, and that my preferred starch is something that's not going to spike my glucose. But that's always hard to avoid. I will still eat potatoes, I will still eat rice, but my preference is for starch that is not going to spike my glucose. Also, I do appreciate bold spices and flavors. This doesn't necessarily mean something that's really spicy, but just something that's very bold to make it flavorful. Um, so yeah, just focusing on simpler, cleaner foods, and that's kind of in line with the Mediterranean diet or the Blue Zones diet, if you're familiar with both of those. I do have my handy dandy laptop here. I made notes to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh, when it comes to alcohol, my alcohol tolerance, well, my appetite for alcohol is just kind of, I can, I don't know. Usually I might drink it to be social, but I just don't have the appetite for it. Now, I do have the appetite for fancy mocktails. I don't know, they just taste really appealing and really flavorful for me. But also, it takes about half a glass of wine now or half a cocktail to get me a buzz. And the old me, pre-Mounjaro me, it did take more alcohol to do that, to get that feeling. So I do need to be mindful when I am away from home and drinking alcohol, because I know I need to get in my car and drive back, and I want to make sure that I'm definitely sober and don't have a buzz when I'm getting behind the wheel. I was what was it? Students Against Driving Drunk. I was involved in that in high school, so that was something very important to me, and it still is, being a responsible driver. Also, but I just want to let you know the ideal entree for me is just something with simple ingredients, fresh ingredients, again, heavy on the proteins, veggies, and has a nice bold flavor. Mm-mm. Also, fresh fruits taste so good to me. Processed food, not so much. Processed food really tastes like cardboard to me, especially food from fast food restaurants. I'm sorry, fast food restaurants. I still go to fast food restaurants thinking that perhaps this time it's going to have taste to me because I need something to eat really quick, but it doesn't work out. Anyway, so this leads me to what's called Savor Sarasota Restaurant Week. And again, I told you I'm getting back into creating travel content again, and part of traveling is dining. I'm a certified food judge. I haven't judged anything in quite a while, but I still remember the eat method: execution, appearance, and taste. But you know, eating is just so important of visiting a destination, because you can connect to the local culture and the community through its food. It can help tell the area's story, how food is harvested and the whole process with that. So food and travel, they just go hand in hand. Well, a few weeks ago, I was invited to a media event to kick off Savor Sarasota, the restaurant week. And there were 11 restaurants there. And I probably tasted at least one dish. Each restaurant had at least two dishes, and then most had an alcoholic drink. but I tried at least one dish from most of the restaurants, and I tried one alcoholic beverage, and that really filled me up. Well, I was invited to a restaurant to kick off Savor Sarasota, and Savor Sarasota is June 1st through the 20th. That's a little bit longer than a week. That's almost 3 weeks. And that's 20 days, and that's because Savor Sarasota is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, which is very exciting. I remember when it first started, so it's nice to see how much it's grown. There are actually 60 or over 60 restaurants participating this year, and they are participating by offering at least two-course prix-fixe menus, lunch menus for $25, and at least three-course dinner menus for $45. Obviously, this is plus tax and gratuity for both the 25 for lunch and the $45 for dinner, but it's really a great bang for your buck. So let me tell you, I was invited to Farlow's on the Water in Englewood, and I just love this restaurant. I've been there several times before. I've purchased gift certificates and gifted them to people I really care about because this is how much I adore this restaurant. The restaurant is owned by Lori and Keith Farlow. Lori is from Kentucky. Keith grew up in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. So you can imagine the food combinations there. They are just wild and bold, and it all goes together. And they just announced that they're opening another restaurant in Englewood down on Dearborn Street. So if in the area when that's open, you're going to need to check that out. But if you're in Southwest Florida, you do need to go to Farlow's on the Water. They are located on the water, not in the Gulf, but on another waterway, and it's just a pretty setting. But I went there on June 1st on Sunday, and let me tell you what I had. They welcomed me with a cocktail, which I was not expecting. I mean, I knew they said they were going to provide me with a cocktail, but I thought I was going to be able to choose it. But this was a delicious cocktail. Here it is. It's called Beach Please, and it has Papa's Pilar blonde rum and pineapple chipotle syrup mixed with island coconut water and tahine, um, with a tahine rim. I know I didn't pronounce that right, but basically tahine, if you're not familiar, that has like chili peppers, lime, and salt combination. So that was a nice, refreshing tropical cocktail to be welcome to. For my first course, I chose the tuna tartare, and here it is. And it was amazing. It was so good. If I could only eat one thing the rest of my life, it would be this every day. I would not get tired of it. And basically, it's fresh caught yellow tuna stacked with cantaloupe pico, avocado, uh, celiac mousse, chili crunch almonds, honey, and it's, as you can see, it's like in this nest of fried rice paper. And basically, I just tore off that rice paper and scooped on the tuna tartare and just ate it like chips and salsa. It was so good. I guess I was really getting into it because I saw one of the other diners asking my server what I was eating and enjoying. Course two, I had the chimmy triggerfish. Here it is, some video. Triggerfish is a firm white fish, and oh my gosh, this fish is marinated for 24 hours in a house-made herb and chimichurri. It served atop bay scallops, shrimp, and farro. I'll put a pin on that farro, and it's tossed in roasted red pepper, romesco sauce, finished with roasted cauliflower puree. And excuse my pronunciation on things, but I chose farro I chose this dish because one, the triggerfish, and then two, the farro, because that farro is not going to spike my glucose. Farro is usually a good starch for diabetics. Course three, I was expecting only one dessert, but they actually brought me both desserts out. I chose the fluffernutter cake, which is house-made queso cake served with marshmallow fluff, cashew praline butter, and semifreddo. And oh my gosh, this was amazing. It had all sorts of different flavors in it and just blended together. There's sweet and then a little bit savory. It contains a little bit of savoriness in the cashew and praline butter, but it all works so well together. Crunch and smoothness and that semifreddo, a little chill in there, delicious. And then I also got to try the over the top chocolate dessert, which was rich and velvety chocolate cake, spicy chocolate panna cotta, chocolate crisp, and raspberry compote. It was so, so good. If you're a chocolate lover, you're definitely going to like this because there are different dimensions of the chocolate in there. But getting back to the main dish, I guess I kind of glided right over that. But that triggerfish, it was so tasty. It was a nice combination of flavors, bold flavors, but I could still taste the individual flavors from the fish, and then the scallops and the shrimp as well. And the cauliflower puree was just magical. But this evening was just spot on. I also, even though okay, getting back to what I ate, and this is something else I forgot to mention when I dine out. I'm usually not eating my full entree, and this is what happened. I did eat my full appetizer of the tuna tartare, but the triggerfish, I brought home half of that dish, and I had most of it for lunch the next day, and I still had some of it in the refrigerator right now. The desserts, I was just at capacity. I was beyond satiated, and I only had a couple bites of each, and I brought the rest home. But I also had a mocktail. I had the mango berry colada, and it was so good and refreshing. It's what it sounds as mango puree, strawberry puree, and pina colada, non alcoholic. And it was just very flavorful and just delicious. It reminded me of a creamsicle. But it was just the perfect evening. And I'm not saying this because they hosted me. The reason why I went, as I mentioned before, is because I know they're going to be spot on, perfect experience. And I just like them as good people, Lori and Keith. I've known them for years, and I just want others to experience this when they're in Southwest Florida. You will not be disappointed when you visit Farlow's on the water. But that's my experience of dining out solo on Mounjaro, and that pretty much mirrors any other time that I'm dining out. So do you dine out when you're on Manjaro? What's your dining experience for you? I want to know. All right, my friends, this video's gone a little bit longer than I was hoping to, but thank you so much for watching. If you're starting out on Manjaro, or if you're on your Manjaro journey, I just want to remind you that this is your journey. Please don't compare yourself to anyone else. Make sure that you're moving more. Make sure you're cleaning up your eating. Make sure that you're staying in touch with your healthcare provider as well. And remember, not only be kind to others this week, but please be kind to yourself. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.